The main rally point for us is the Boyle McCauley News, and it gives every person here a chance to share their views. I feel the paper makes my home Edmonton's best community. It adds to our hope of always living happy, cared for, and free. For 40 years now, our paper goes to McCauley and Boyle Street homes, and it reaches even those who spend their time on earth here alone. This newspaper gives our residents a huge source of pride because with it we have one heart, one soul, one mind. The Boyle McCauley News is the glue that holds thousands together and empowers us to face the world, even with our often lousy Edmonton weather.
Volunteers play a vital role. This is how the newspaper, we divvied everything up so that
I can confirm I was a
John
block carrier
right there. Oh, you had several.
Did I have several routes?
Yeah, you had several routes.
I was young and energetic back then, so no problem.
That's one of the endearing attributes of this little community newspaper, like the little engine that could, is that people always stepped up when there was a crisis. They stepped up to maintain it.
It's a great thing to be celebrating our 40th anniversary, and I'm happy that the newspaper has been around so long, thanks to the vision of people who started it 40 years ago.
There were quite a number of us who were really keen on helping the community to find its voice and set its priorities for what kinds of developments needed to take place. And so the newspaper was a really critical piece of that voice for the community.
We had a committee of people who oversaw the articles, contributed articles. We had a big group of people who would deliver it around the neighborhood. And it's just so exciting that it's still going after 40 years.
There had been a newspaper in the community, and somehow it had stopped, and I think people missed it. And when we heard that there was monies, there was a group of us who got together and applied for some grants to make it, to start the newspaper again.
We had a lovely group of people, and I know from just looking at a couple of your last issues that some of these people are still involved, like Kate Quinn and John Kolkman, who's at the Social Planning Council, Bob McKeon, who still lives in the neighborhood in the same place he lived in over 40 years ago. The Brockmans, I think, are still around. You mentioned Malcolm Archibald. Well, I remember Malcolm because he was very quiet but such a helpful guy.
We had a dark room, so this was the time before computers and digital publishing, so it was pretty rudimentary, but I loved going to the dark room. We had a full dark room set up in the Boys and Girls Club where we developed a lot of the images, a lot of the photos.
So when I first worked on the paper, it's like speaking about the dark ages. We had all the material was typed out on a typewriter, came out in strips that then were waxed and had to be rolled onto paper sheets, and then we had to physically take the paper, these flats that were just paper, to the printer, and then the printer had to physically print it. I think that's part of the strength, is that there always seem to be people ready to step forward and take on the task related to the newspaper.
Now we have a full-scale website that's updated regularly. It's got a searchable archive on it, and we're also very active on social media.
But I think the paper is still really a very authentic representation of the voices of the community. I appreciate that it's still very much, there's still very much volunteers that make it happen.
It's essential that we have a vehicle like this newspaper to try to connect the various elements of the community and to counteract a lot of the negative spin that comes up in the media about this neighborhood.
I think there's a place for everyone in the Boyle McCauley News. I love the diversity of writers. I love the topics, bringing everything together, celebrating small events and more, events that have the bigger impact than our community.
Just shows you how important people are, how connected people are to the community, and how important people feel like this fixture is in our neighborhood in terms of connecting people, letting people know what's going on, and being a positive force for change and community building in the neighborhood.
We focus on the more positive things that happen in our neighborhood, the things that truly make it a community, the people who help one another, the people who get together, and the festivals that we do, and the kids programs that we run, and the seniors activities, etc. Our multiculturalism, our diversity.
It's important to have some positive stories about the community, way of people when they come getting to know some of the things that are going on in the community.
I think there's just a lot of stories to be told in this neighborhood, and I think 40 years of this newspaper is 40 years of somebody's entire lifetime in this community. I think that's really, really cool.
It was a really neat place to be. There were so many amazing leaders and volunteers and people willing to help with anything in the community. It was just a really nice place to live. Meeting the volunteers that were actually delivering the papers, so I would get to talk to them every time I dropped off papers. I remember Richard, the best. He was one of our volunteers that was willing to go for anything. He sticks out in my mind just because he was always willing to help and do a little bit more than maybe he needed to.
It's 40 years now, eh? So it's a very worthwhile cause, having a community newspaper.
We can be in a neighborhood like Boyle Street and McCauley, and we can tell our own stories, and we don't simply have to be seen by citywide media through stereotypes and really biased interpretations. It's a place we can talk to each other, we can have voice, we can honor each other, we can share our struggles, share our hopes.
There's that historical, famous story of somebody shaving their beard to save the paper.
Well, in 1996, the paper was broke, and this has happened on and off. How do you fund the Boyle McCauley News? That's a continuing challenge.
So we asked Bob to shave off his beard, and Tony was from the Venetian Barbershop on 95th Street. Came out to the event, did a shave of Bob's beard, and people paid money to actually come to the event and to support the newspaper.
And we raised over $5,000 for this. We didn't quite raise the $7,000.
So they left the mustache.
And the mustache got left. And I really didn't like what I looked like without the beard, so I grew it back.
There was a colorful community resident who was the editor for a spell. His name was Gary. And he too would also write some articles, but he would do it under a pseudonym, and he was Arnold Waxwing. So you'd look forward to the articles pen-named, written by Arnold Waxwing.
There's still something about having, the printed edition and dropping that door to door, and occasionally people saying, well, I really enjoy getting this newspaper and thanks for delivering it. And
it really helps to weave the neighborhood together and to keep that sense of community and engagement alive.
It's a small town newspaper tucked inside a couple communities in a larger city. But it's still a small town newspaper.
And just the fact that it has been here for 40 years, that there have been volunteers ready and willing to distribute it, there have been people from the community writing, taking pictures.
As I have gone through the years, the paper provides connection for people in the community. We have volunteers who get to meet each other, so new friendships are made all of the time. Some of the longest term friendships in our community are people who volunteered for the paper for 40 years.
It's been an incredible experience getting to know Boyle Street and McCauley, getting to know the people, getting to know their stories, and it's so wonderful to be able to get those stories out into the world.
I'm so delighted that it's been successful and it continues to be a vibrant voice for the community. So congratulations to everybody who's kept it going.
Happy birthday to the Boyle McCauley News.
Congratulations, Boyle McCauley News. After 40 years of awesome work in the inner city, thank you for being our messenger.
Congratulations, Boyle McCauley News. Congratulations, Boyle McCauley News.
Congratulations, Boyle McCauley News.
Congratulations, Boyle McCauley News.
Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, Boyle McCauley